She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
When you want more than just the status quo of success, you come here to the Dani Johnson Show. We're so excited that you've joined us today. Hey, today is that one day of the week where we like to set things apart to bring you some really powerful, inspirational stories of people who are really, really struggling. And today they have found a path, and that path has led them to some rip-roaring, outrageous success. Last week we had 2 women. This week we've got 2 men. I can't wait for you to meet these 2. They really have inspired me greatly. You know, when you're on the journey of becoming successful, and you know, you've heard the saying that success is a journey, it's not a destination. And that really is very true. And not only that, but on the journey, you begin to find out what success really means to you personally. And that's usually after, unfortunately, you've made some huge costly mistakes, like, you know, living somebody else's dream, you know, buying things that other people wanted, but then when you get it, you're like, why did I do this? This is really what I want out of life. And so the status quo of success simply paints such an unfinished picture of what success is. It usually has to do with cars and stuff and status, and that it all comes with such a heavy, high price. Not just the price tag for the Range Rover. I'm talking about the other price tag, all the extras that seem to go with that, and the pressure of the debt and the pressure of keeping up this facade that we know that we're living. And so that's why you come here every day on the Dani Johnson Show to find the truth about success and to see what the real price tag is and to really evaluate, what is it that I want for my life? What do I not want? Why? You are called. You have a purpose for your life. You've been formed in your mother's womb since the beginning of the foundations of the world began, and there was a purpose attached to your life. You are not going to be like 98% of the people that are out there. They're chasing somebody else's version of what success is, only to end up empty-handed, chasing their tail, and a bunch of broken relationships. And or you on the other side, forget it. I don't want to be successful at all. I just want to live a normal, humdrum, boring life. That isn't success either. So you know that something's been calling out of you, and there has to be more to the life than what it is that you're living, and that's why you and I get together every single day, maybe to kind of expose what that is for you personally, because it's different for you than it is for me. But I know this, you have a function on this earth, and we want to see you reach the fullness of it. So joining me today is Brad Harmsworth. He originally is Canadian. He recently now has moved down to Los Angeles. Brad has such a story. He has a story that's filled with all kinds of pain, some suffering, some failures, some embarrassment. But then to look at his life today, you would think, wow, how did you turn so quickly? And what was it that motivated you to make such a difference? So Brad, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to have you here. Hey, so tell us a little bit about, well, first of all, if you can, like in 30 seconds, give us your success story, if you will. And then we're going to dive deep into uncovering let's get underneath the hood and find out what was wrong with some of the engine and what was wrong with the life before you went and had all of this kind of success. So just give us a quick story, and then we'll dive deep into it.
Prior to big change happening in my life, I had everything going. I had the Range Rover you just talked about. I had a good job, but I had no hope and no dreams. I worked a great job, but I despised it. I worked for good people, but I despised them. I was suicidal. I had my suicide all planned for the December. That was the big part, was there was no hope and no dreams in my life. I'd work a 9-to-5 job, and I'd come home and drown myself in entertainment so that I could go to sleep and do it all again the next day.
And I know that you were married at some point, and that ended up in a divorce.
I did. I was married once before. 3 years, ended terribly. Definitely part of the hopeless situation I thought I was in.
Right. And then today you have a completely different life. You are freshly remarried. You and your wife, Stina, has paid off $280,000 worth of debt, which is completely outrageous. You now live on 35% of your income, and you're traveling all over the place, enjoying life, and no longer suicidal. So I want to go back to that time where you had a suicide note written, and you were going to give it to your family at Christmas time. What provoked you to want to write that letter?
I hadn't written it yet, but like it was all figured out. But I had, so much debt and I didn't know what to do about it. Like, you pay some off, and the next month you find out you're deeper in the hole. My family, we're tense on good days. And I was having a lot of bad days. There was no purpose to my life, to my work. Like, I didn't see a point. I've been through failed relationship after failed relationship, ending in a marriage that, I couldn't even do that right. The people who were supposed to stick with me and love me, supposed to. Yeah. Even that wasn't working. Family and wife, and, I just totally believed that I wasn't worth it.
Now, Brad, when you say that you would come home from work and drown yourself in entertainment, what did that look like?
I played a lot of video games. I watched a lot of movies, and, I was to a place where, if someone wanted to hang out, okay, but, I would just rather go to the theater by myself. Wow. And forget about life and watch, what looks nice for 2 hours, just to forget about it, just to not think. Wow. I seemingly had everything. I had, almost $100,000 a year job. I had a Range Rover. I lived in a beautiful piece of property. I had everything, but wow. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't.
Wow.
Things never gave me any peace or hope.
So you're saying that on the outside, right? The outside, someone looking at Brad are like, oh, he's got a beautiful wife. He's got a Range Rover. He's making $100,000 a year. He's got a secure job with the government. Man, he's got the life. And you're saying that what was on the inside of that nice house on that nice piece of property and that Range Rover and that marriage was a mess.
Yeah, it was honestly, like a terrified little boy in the dark is honestly how I'd describe it. Wow. Like, you don't want to face the monsters that you think are lurking there, but you don't know what to do about them.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say that the monsters were, Brad?
I'd say probably for me my biggest fear, the one I still work on to a lot less degree, is a fear of being alone, fear of ending up alone. Like, not being worth it, not being worth fighting for. Yeah. It's just a message I got given growing up, being picked on in school and picked on at church, and then family stuff. And the message I just got hammered in was you're not worth my time, you're not worth fighting for. And I really took that in and believed it and became that.
Wow. So no matter how much you would buy, that would never take that away. Like, the Range Rover didn't make you feel worth it. The house on the nice piece of property didn't make you feel worth it. The successful job didn't make you feel worth it.
No, like, I would definitely shop to try and make myself feel better a lot. And I still have some nice things that are, left over from that time, but it would only, like, temporarily make you feel good. You feel good for a day, a week, maybe even a month, but eventually you're sitting there looking at your credit card statement going like, that feeling of, I'm somebody. Yep. Was it worth the new debt you got, the new interest payment you have to make?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. Okay, so Brad, we see people all the time walking down the street, or driving in their Range Rover, working in that nice job, and they know how to put on the smile and how to do all that stuff. But yet, deep down inside, many of them are just like what you were. just hopeless and feeling worthless. What changed? Like, what brought you to the place of no longer listening to the voices of your childhood that told you you were nothing, you were worth nothing, and you said you were bullied in school, bullied at church, and felt being put down by family members. And family members can be brutal with that. Absolutely brutal with putting down their siblings or putting down their children or their nieces and nephews, and they're not even thinking about the cost that is going to be paid. I mean, here you almost served up your family at Christmas time a suicide letter. I mean, I can't imagine how that must have felt for you to even entertain writing that, and yet all of it was a combination of all of the things that were spoken about you behind your back, to your face, just making you feel worthless. So what brought the change? Like how did in what year was there a shift that began to happen?
It was September of 2011, and my brother dragged me out to First Steps to Success, and my family had been going for, I don't know, maybe 6 months, I think, and I figured they'd joined some cult, but I had nowhere else to go. Like, I already knew I was going to be dead. Like, what's the worst that can happen? So, I went, and I found an experience that I'd never felt before, and that was like real acceptance from people who had no reason to accept me, like people who had amazing stories and not tons of success, and for some reason they treated me like I was valuable. And I never had that before. I never had that. So that was 3.5 years ago, and I've been, I don't know how many, maybe nearly 30 events, and if I'm honest, the first half of the time I went because I needed that family. I needed to feel that, except to me, it was worth any amount of money to be accepted like that, to, feel like I was valuable. Yeah. But, and then on the side, I paid off, nearly $280,000 worth of debt in 3.5 years. I met the woman of my dreams. I started to like my job and my coworkers and became valuable. Then I started getting raised, like asked to manage constantly. All of a sudden I was, going someplace, and all of a sudden my life had some real value. Yeah. I had a family. Yeah. I learned the skills. I learned the skills about how to work, about how to love, about, how to accept compliments, how to be a good husband, because I wasn't a good husband when I was married before. It doesn't matter whose decision it was. I was 50% of the problem.
Amen. And and so oftentimes we think it's the other person. We generally think it's the other person. We're going to continue with more with Brad's story right after this.
This is the Dani Johnson Show. Our next live event is First Steps to Success, May 2nd and 3rd in Orlando, Florida.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Poncha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Poncha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Poncha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org. The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do with your life? Discover your own answer. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
You know, you never know what your words can mean to somebody, both positive and negative. I know you've heard this piece of wisdom before, that life and death is in the power of the tongue. And joining me right now is Brad Harmsworth, who had suffered quite a bit of death words. I'm not saying death threats, but in all reality, it did turn into a death threat. You know, the bullies at school and at church, you know, that's a place you would never think that kids would bully kids, but it is a place that it happens very common. You know, being made fun of, putting people down, you know, being put down by your parents or your siblings or other family members. And then pretty soon you draw a conclusion that says, I'm not worth it, I'm worth nothing. And then you start to bury your sorrows in a high stress job where you are making a good income and using that income to buy more than what you need. The Range Rover that is, way expensive with the fat debt. Not to mention the shopping habits, the entertainment habits, drowning yourself in video games is exactly where Brad Harmsworth found himself prior to being involved with a website called DaniJohnson.com, which will teach you how to succeed in all areas of your life, which is what the show is about. It's about success, and it's about the true reality of success, not the stuff that is sold to us in pretty packaging that only causes hardships and broken relationships and a massive amount of debt, but really having balance in our lives, a holistic approach to success. I'm excited to continue on with Brad's story. He was just sharing how that after many first steps to success is just like the one that we have coming up here in a few months, that he was able to tap into something very powerful. And the first thing, Brad, that you said was that you tapped into a people that treated you like you were valuable. Like they honored you, they were accepting to you. That's something I love about our clients, especially our returnee clients. The ones that are there for the first time, not so much. It takes them a couple of days before they, you know, all that rough stuff that's on the outside of them starts to just kind of get polished away, and they now start to become the true essence of what they were born to be and put on this planet to be. But we really do. We have the most incredible people that we work with, our clients who are so committed, just like you now, Brad, because you have benefited from being loved on by perfect strangers. You've benefited from being accepted by perfect strangers in an environment that you least expected to gain that kind of encouragement, acceptance, love, and value. And then that translated into your work life, where you now saw yourself to be valuable, not in an arrogant way, but you learned valuable skill sets that then translated into you getting promoted and raises and being constantly asked, will you manage this and will you manage that? Whereas before, you were pretty well ignored. But now, like, they want Brad. How did that feel when you began to see that shift? That even just at work, that you went from hating your work and hating your coworkers to finding satisfaction by bringing that excellence and diligence and treating people the way you were being treated at First Steps to Success. How did that feel when that shift first started to change?
I'd say it's very humbling, and it was borderline, like, unbelievable. Like, because, like, it didn't just, like, you know, seem to gradually happen over time. All of a sudden, it was just like I woke up one day and was like, well, you know, something's changed. Like, how is it all of a sudden so different? All of a sudden, I'm getting to, you know, feel like the man I want to be.
Yeah. Or
like I'm getting closer to the man I want to be. And, you know, for living, you know, for, you know, 27 years, believing that there was no point and I'm not worth it, like that's a huge change. Like, all of a sudden I have a reason to go into work.
Yes.
Rather than just to pay out so I can make money to pay my debts. Mm-hmm. Like, I have a smile on my face. Yeah, actually, I got that a lot. I worked in a really, like, hard environment full of a lot of unhappy people, and all of a sudden I started getting the question, why are you smiling?
Yeah.
Like, why do you smile so much? Like, what do you have to smile about? And like, just the little things, like, or I've got to watch, like, the managers play the game so that they could work with me more. Like it's just incredible to feel, like, all of a sudden to feel desired, and not, like, in a bad way, and not, I I really hope I didn't let it go to my head. I don't feel like I did.
No, this wasn't an arrogance. It was, wow. No, to be honest with you, you were feeling the Father in heaven's love over you. And you were bringing more value, which made people wanted to work with you for the first time in your career, which I think is absolutely amazing. These things that he's talking about, we teach in a number of different places. Job domination specifically, I know that Brad studied intently job domination, which then again resulted in him getting raises and promotions. Simple, little, tiny tweaks that change how the overall workplace sees you and wants to work with you. This is Dani Johnson. We'll get into a few more of those tips right after this.
So what's keeping you stuck? It's time to get it out of your way for good. Stay right here for more of the Dani Johnson Show.
And I'm so blessed that I found what is in Grooming the Next Generation for Success. This is a book that is being taught in universities around the world. It's been noted as the best book on parenting that has ever been written. Crazy, if you ask me. But the point is that this thing gets results. Get your copy today, 888-757-8880. Again, that's 888-757-8880. Or go to DaniJohnson.com. That's DANI Johnson.com. Get your copy today.
This is the Dani Johnson Show.
When the status quo of success is not enough, that's when you tune in to the Dani Johnson Show. That's where Brad found himself. He had the status quo of success, but he was miserable. Felt totally unworthy. Yes, he had the Range Rover. Yes, he had the $100,000 a year job. Yes, he had the house on the nice piece of property, but he had a broken history of broken relationships, and he drowned himself in video games as well as watching movies and go to the theater by himself to watch movies to try to forget about the monstrous amount of debt that he incurred to get those things that looked nice on the outside. Not to mention a shopping habit that tried to give him that little shot in the arm of making himself feel good because of something nice that he was wearing. All in all, he was depressed and even suicidal, ready to write a suicide note to his parents. Well, today, he is not that man. He's paid off $280,000 worth of debt with his new wife, Estina, in the last 3.5 years. No longer suicidal, but highly, highly valuable out there in the marketplace. Had been promoted multiple times in his career, got raises, people fighting to work with him. He made a difference in his place of labor. As we wrap up Brad's story, Brad, I want you to talk right now to that man or even woman that is listening to you right now, that is in the same exact place of where you were. Remember that place of getting ready to write that suicide note to your parents for Christmas. Remember that place of looking at all of this 6 figures in debt going, how in the world am I going to do this? What do you say to that person right now? What instructions would you give them?
I'd say that, as much as it feels like there's no hope and no dreams, you get taught over and over again that having dreams is bad. You're never going to be able to make them come true, and they're just going to be a reminder of where you're not going and what you can't be. That's a lie. That that does exist.
Yes.
If you got, not if you have the chance, make the chance to go to first steps of success, to meet the same people I did who would believe in me with no reason to, who would teach me skills to be able to chase my dreams, because that's what I'm doing now.
Yes.
That's exactly what I'm doing now. I get to go do everything I only ever dreamt about. And I get to do it without any debt. I get to do it. We'll be debt free next month, like for the rest of our lives. Like never again that we'll be able to experience not being owned by somebody or something else, And while we're doing that, we get to travel all over the world.
Yes.
We get to travel. I travel at least every 2 months. I get to go somewhere new. I get to do it with cash. I get to spend time with a wife who respects me and loves me and shows me that. I get to interact with people every day and change their lives, which is something I've always wanted to do. I get to chase my dreams. Those dreams that you have, those dreams that you had and you hammer down into a bottle and don't look at them anymore, you can have them.
Amen.
It's possible. I had to be trained on how to open that bottle, how to work for it. And it's totally the same training you can have. Those things are easy to learn if you're taught by the right person. So you go on the website and you go to DaniJohnson.com and you sign up for First Steps to Success. If you have to borrow $10 from every person you know to do it, you got to do it. Because you don't want to end up like me. You don't want to be driving down to the ocean once a week and looking at it and saying, if I started swimming, I know I wouldn't make it. and no one would have to deal with my body. No one would have, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be there, because that's where you're going to end up. You end up in a loveless marriage, or working so you can retire, which just is going to teach you that you're no better off. You don't want to be suicidal. If you're not already, you don't want to be there. But this is an easy way. This is an easy way to find something new, something hopeful.
Yes. Brad, I'm so proud of you. It's been so fun watching your transformation. I remember when you first came to First Steps to Success 3.5 years ago. I remember seeing the hopelessness in your eyes. I also remember one little tip that fell from the stage where I had said, some are here just because they need the environment, they need the people. And while they're healing and while they're learning, they need to be surrounded by people like this. And I remember you standing on your feet and your eyes just going bright red and you going, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. I need this. I need this. I need to grow. I need to heal. I need to learn these things. And I was so proud of you because your heart was so humble, and to see where you're at today and your gorgeous wife and how you guys are just powerhouses together is an amazing, it's a miracle. You're an absolute miracle. And I'm so proud of you. And thank you so much for those passionate words that you just spoke to that person that's driving down the road right this minute, listening to those words. And I know that they've grabbed their smartphone, they've gone over to DaniJohnson.com, and they are making that decision to do what you did. You made the choice to change. You learned new skills that were on that website. You tapped into a group of people, a community of people that have held you accountable and have helped to strengthen through the power of numbers, and using that content to apply it to your job, to get those bonuses and raises and to annihilate all that debt, to be debt-free today. Gosh, man, what an exciting life that is ahead of you. It doesn't mean that there isn't suffering and problems ahead of you. We are all going to have that. It means that you are now better equipped to handle whatever bends in the road or cliffs that are ahead, whatever detours that they are. You are so much better equipped to handle those things, especially with somebody else next to you in a community that is with you. So thank you so much for sharing today. We are so very, very proud of you and proud of everything that you are doing, and blessed to have you a part of our community. Joining me next is Mike Almeyda, a young man out of Florida who also has a very powerful testimony. Imagine being just riddled in so much debt, man, feeling like you're drowning under this, suffocating under it, and trying to just like keep it all together, trying to look like everything is great and trying to keep your life, somehow in some kind of order, but just it feels like it's just in complete disarray. This is exactly where Mike found himself. And when he first came to us, the debt was just screaming at him 24/7. But wow, the guy has a story that is absolutely going to inspire you and shock you. Mike Almeyda, welcome from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani. Thanks for having me. Truly is an honor to be on this show and speaking with you right now.
It's such an honor to have you. It has also been a blast watching a transformation happen before my eyes with you and also your beautiful wife. Mike, tell us a little bit about what life was like before you somehow stumbled on this crazy website, stumbled on this training materials, and ended up in a 3-day event called First Steps to Success.
Oh, man. Wow. I look back, and it's just been such a ride, Dani. This is July of 2013. I'll take a step back there. Prior to learning about DaniJohnson.com, and I was someone who was purely addicted to success. It didn't matter who was in my way. It didn't matter what blockages I had. I was going to overcome them no matter what. I was a person who grew up in a broken childhood, never knew my biological father. Wow. I never had a father figure in my life. Made fun of in school from elementary school all the way up until high school, and so I always had a chip on my shoulder. And I wanted to prove everybody wrong, which kind of drove me to be successful, but at the same time, it drove me to be successful at the expense of everybody else. Yeah. When I talk about addiction, it was really bad. I was addicted to money. I was addicted to finding love in the wrong places, pornography, you name it. Truly, just it's so horrible. Such a wicked person. Really just entangled by all this mess. And a good friend of mine who works in the same industry that I do told me about you. Told me about First Steps to Wealth, which is the free book you offer on your website. And after reading it, something just inspired me to look at more. And after about a year of going through that and some of the materials, I finally made a decision to fly all the way to Los Angeles, California, with the money I didn't have. And so when I got to my first event, it just really opened up my eyes. It blew me away. So that was pretty much how I learned about it, and that was my first event.
Wow. From First Steps to Wealth, of all things. In fact, let's just stop right there. First Steps to Wealth, you need to get your free copy of it. If you haven't, I know Brad has read it, Michael has read it, but what an awesome thing that he hears from a friend about a book. Little did he know that was on the other side of reading this book and the other side of coming out to a live 3-day event called First Steps to Success was a completely different life. I don't know if you have your free copy yet. First Steps to Wealth, you can get it right now if you call 866-760-8255. Again, that's 866-760-8255. Ask for Nellie or Nate. Either one of them would be happy to serve you and get you your copy of First Steps to Wealth. You can download the ebook immediately, or if you'd like the physical copy, if you're like, Mike and I, you like to dog your pages, highlight, write notes in the margin, circle things, we passionately go through the book. If you're like that, then you want the physical copy, you pay the shipping and handling to get it to your house, and we will pay for the $15 book to get it to you, okay? So you cover the shipping and handling. Tell Nellie and Nate that you just talked to me. And you just heard Mike Almeyda's story. They know Mike as well. They know the power that the book as well as the 3-day event has had on them. And while you're on the phone with Nate or Nellie, ask them about First Steps to Success. Ask them right now. Okay, tell me more about this First Steps to Success thing, okay? All right, so here we have a man who just confessed, and he's gorgeous. You've seen the pictures here, right here on the show. He's a gorgeous man, okay? Puerto Rican, right, Mike?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Gorgeous young man who is what? Addicted to money, addicted to power, workaholic, addicted to pornography, addicted to everything that is killing him, yet he doesn't even realize it. But knowing the stress, Mike, on your life had to be astronomical. The pressure on your heart, right? And all the frustration because, you've got this, I gotta be the best, but not everybody else around you is the best. Ugh!
So true, Dan.
You want to pull people's heads off. You know what I mean? And you're like so committed all in. And then other people around you that don't share that same commitment level, you're just like, you want to pluck their fingernails off of their finger one at a time. You just want to pound them and go, what's wrong with you? Anyway, we'll continue more into the story and see where Mike is today right after this.
It's the Dani Johnson Show.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Have you ever been in that situation where you feel like you're the only committed person around? You know what I mean? Like you have this intense goal that you're working after and nobody else cares about it the way that you do. Well, welcome to the real world, friend. If you're on a journey for success and the status quo of success just has turned out to be not enough, I'm not saying that the houses and the cars and that stuff is not enough. I'm talking about you realize that there's so much more to success than what everyone's talking about. Everyone's talking about money and houses and cars and nice clothes and traveling around the world. But really, when it gets down to it, the frustration that you have with other people makes it not worth it. I know I have wanted to quit so many times. Just for what? Not because of what I couldn't achieve, but just who I had to achieve it with. Especially in my early days. Man, I could not figure out how to work with people in a way that was more conducive to everybody winning. That's exactly where Mike Almeyda found himself stressed out, frustrated, intense pressure on his physical body, and not to mention mounds of debt. In fact, Mike Almeyda, before coming to First Steps to Success, how much debt were you carrying, Mike?
Oh, my goodness. Over $500,000 of debt.
And And how old were you when you first came to First Steps to Success?
Oh, so it's going to be about 2 years now. At 29 years old.
29 years old, carrying $500,000 worth of debt. Why were you carrying so much debt?
Oh, it's just, I was purely motivated by greed. So I needed to show my success. And in my mind, if I bought houses and expensive cars and I looked good, everybody would think I'm successful. But the reality is I was just drowning in my own debt.
Wow. How did it feel, Mike, to be carrying $500,000 worth of debt?
It was really painful because you show a smile on the outside, but you're hurting, you're burning on the inside. And I think I already told you, all those addictions to success, it was tearing me up. It was driving me in a direction that was really leading me to destruction. I mean, every on the outside of people, I'd smile and I'd look good and people would think I'm successful, which is what I want them to think. But the reality was I was hurting. I was miserable, angry, taken out on my spouse, who was my fiance at the time, not having a great relationship with my son, who was far away. And really just putting on a facade. Yeah. And it was horrible. I mean, it was truly horrendous. I'd come home and I just curl up in a ball and be like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing it? Didn't make any sense, but I still did it anyway.
Yeah. Well, dude, we were sold this. This is the picture that the media sells us that success looks like. It's the best way I can say it? It's like Eve in the garden looks at the fruit. Oh, it looks so good on the outside. Take a bite, broad. Ouch. Cursed all of humanity. You know what I mean? But that's the reality, is that when we don't know the truth about success and how to attain holistic success and really make decisions that are right and good and just, using wisdom instead of flying off the handle with our emotion, which I certainly have done 5 billion times, but instead learning wisdom and learning a plan that just works so fluidly, so simply, so easily. Okay, so you now have paid off how much debt?
Oh man, in the past 20 months, I've paid off $214,000 of debt.
Which is, you're coming up on cresting half of your $500,000 worth of debt that you've paid off.
Oh, and it's going to get better than that. I know I haven't shared this with you yet, Danny, but the ambitious goal I have is by the end of this year, I'm going to be 100% debt-free.
Wow.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so not only have you paid off debt, but you now have money in the bank. You now have assets. So tell the whole financial part of what you've learned out of First Steps to Success.
Oh, man. So after, after my first event, back in July of 2013, I followed directions. I went back using War on Debt, great program that truly has helped me so much to do all this. I realized that I was spending over $1,400 in food and things that I really didn't need. And, I figured this out. I'm like, man, I told my fiance at the time, we're going to annihilate this debt. So here it is. I have $1,400 of excess spending.
Yep.
And, Danny, you don't know this part of my story, but right after I found that, I had been brought to court for my son's mother had requested more child support. She felt I wasn't giving enough, even though I was giving more. Long story short, I was asked to pay an additional $1,000 a month. And so, yes, so all of that fat that I had just found in my budget was going straight to that. And, I remember really getting stressed out, but I went back to the book that you handed me at my first evening event, at my first Steps to Success event. And the best book that you ever put in my hands that I've read from cover to cover. And I stumbled upon something that said, though he slay me, yet I will trust him.
Yes.
And so, I turned back, I followed my God, I listened to it, and even with only $486 of fat in my budget, over 20 months, I was able to annihilate $214,000 of debt. And the message that I heard through that, the same book, this was just a couple of months ago, is, whoever exalts himself will be humbled.
Yeah.
And whoever humbles himself will be exalted. And it reminded me, when I had to pay that child support money, how miserable of a person, how wicked of a person I was. And it was, you know what? This is my test to see if I will put my faith and put my head down and drive forward and do the right thing.
Yes.
And so, I've been able to do that. Not only that, Dane, I've been able to start tithing tremendous, feeding orphans, building homes in Nicaragua with, I can't even begin to explain how awesome it is to be able to do that and still annihilate debt at the same time.
Yeah. And even have money in the bank. And have
yes,
income-producing assets. Keep going.
Yes. $22,000 in savings and $360,000 in income-producing assets.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. From flat broke to all of that.
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel to be in that place?
It's like such a huge weight, burden, lifted off your shoulders. I look in the mirror and realize I don't have to impress anybody. You know, God created me for a purpose, and it's not to impress other people. It's to impress upon them. You know, that you don't have to live this way. You don't have to work a 9-to-5 job, come back, be stressed out, miserable, unhappy. There's more to life. There's a bigger purpose. There's people that are out there that have less than we do, and you can truly, when you follow these simple principles, you know, when you give freely, and you follow the money principles, and you're responsible with how you are with your finances. Not only does that stress and burden just get lifted up, you just like pull it out of your body, pull it out of your mind, your relationships start getting better. I mean, with work relationships, personal relationships, your relationship with your spouse, with your children, just a complete 180. I feel like I look at the way I used to live and I look at my life today, and it's like this black cloud has been lifted from my eyes, and everything seems right and happy. And the community, oh my goodness, the community of people that I've met at First Steps, truly like a family to me. It's just so encouraging. And the best thing I can say, Danny, is this community, it is so uplifting. Even when I come home and I leave these events, I still have people rooting for me and pulling me up when I have my bad days. You don't find that anywhere. I have yet to find it anywhere. But I know that beyond a shadow of doubt, this community is purely responsible for my success, my continued success, and my ability to just inspire people with a story like this.
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing. It really, really is. Listen, if you're listening and you've been listening through the whole show, both Brad and Mike, you've heard some very consistent things. Both of them lived in a hopeless place. Both of them living a lie, the outside, you know, buying all the things that would cause people to think that they were successful, but underneath it all was just a mess. And so here they humbled themselves. They learned some new strategies. They learned some new skills. They applied those things. And now look at their life. This is a message for you. Maybe you're next. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue right after this.
In your face and in your corner. You've never had a coach like this before. Stay right here for more of the Dani Johnson Show.
For families in Santa Poncha, Nicaragua, life is filled with fear and struggle. They don't have enough food for their kids, clean water is hard to find, and they're living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel on top of mining tunnels that could explode and sink at any moment. But a miracle is in the making, and you can be a part of transforming this village. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Poncha to see how you can help. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org, and click on Santa Poncha. This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom, your family's freedom. It's on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
It's time to take on a whole new mindset. It's the Dani Johnson Show.
I know you've been inspired today, and inspiration is a key element for success, especially when you're kind of going against the grain and you're wanting to pay off your debt, you're wanting to live free, you're wanting to have great relationships at home as well as at work and in your community. That's going against the grain because most people care less about any of those things. They just want the money. We just heard from two men that got it all and ended up with emptiness, ended up with pain and suffering. What powerful stories between these two gentlemen. Hello? They've paid off almost $400,000, actually over almost $500,000, $280,000 worth of debt with Brad, and Mike, $214,000 in debt he paid off in 20 months. This is cresting, just $6,000 shy of $500,000, which is two people that they've paid off with the debt. Where did it start? First Steps to Wealth. DaniJohnson.com is where you can get a copy of it. We'd love to give you, if you're brand new to the show, we'd love to give you a free copy right now. First Steps to Wealth. Every skill set that it took for me to go from homeless to millions, now multimillionaire, who gives 100% of the profits from my business away to helping to build homes for the poor and take care of the orphan, the sick, the widow, and getting kids out of the sex trade. Our business is used 100% to going and helping kids like that. So here, I strongly recommend that you dial the phone number right now, 866-760-8255. Again, that's 866-760-8255, and begin reading today. You can download a copy. If you call that number, ask for Nate or Nellie. Either one of them would be happy to serve you. They will get you the ebook right now. Or if you'd like a physical copy, just you pay the shipping and handling. I'll pay for the $15 book. Fair? More than fair. We'll get you jump-started in the right direction. While you're on the phone with them, ask them about First Steps to Success. That's the training that both Mike and Brad have been to many times, where they've learned new skill sets that they didn't even know were so simple that they could apply and immediately see results. And you heard Mike, and I know that if we had more time with Brad would also be talking to you about taking care of the extreme poor. Well, the three of us, as well as countless thousands of others, are working on a project right now where we have all come together, and we're gonna build 1,000 homes for the extreme poor. Not only homes, but it will have fresh, clean water, which these people don't have now. Food supplies, as well as they'll be put into business and learn financial skills so they can break the cycle of poverty for generations to come. If you would like to know more about that project in Santa Poncha, Nicaragua, go to kingsransom.org. Again, that's kingsransom.org. Instead of driving through Starbucks this afternoon, please give that $5. Instead of going to McDonald's, please give that $5 to King's Ransom, Santa Poncha, Nicaragua. Do that now so that together we can make a huge difference changing lives. Thanks so much for joining me today. God bless you. We'll talk to you tomorrow with another exciting topic.
This has been the Dani Johnson Show. If you want to hear more, visit us at DaniJohnson.com.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.